The show is made possible in part by its supporting sponsors. Blue Water Power Group of Companies, Joe's Discount Tire, and AskGuy.ca. Nice, comfortable setting here today. Thanks for watching and joining once again here on the show. And my friend Robert Purrsglove, thank you so much for giving me your time here in your home.
Privilege and a pleasure, David.
Yeah.
Privilege and a pleasure.
We've got to know each other. We sort of kind of just, did we meet online? Was that the thing? Or I'm trying to remember exactly how that came about.
I remember well.
Okay.
I moved to Sarnia in 2014.
All right.
And I was a home guy. I was home quite a bit. So I was on the internet fishing around, seeing what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
I would go for a drive. I'm trying to, here it is, a new town. I mean, you're trying to circumvent your way around.
Yeah,
around
figure it out.
Yeah, figure out where it was. So I'm on the internet, and here's this thing called The Show, and I started to watch it, and I thought, what is this? And I started to watch it, and here's this guy, and all by himself, he's got a whole TV station going, and I thought, that's remarkable, and I couldn't believe how much content was in it, and I thought, being a little bit, affiliated with production work here and there, I was really taken aback about how much work was involved and how much you could do. So I reached out to you, and I just sent you a little note, I think, that said,
yeah, that's right.
What a dummy you are doing all this work yourself, right? And then you respond. Next thing I know, you were on my bench and we were having a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And that was, and I really enjoyed it. In fact, I remember that. So that would make you probably the first person I met here.
Oh, wow.
Probably.
Yeah.
I
do remember. Yeah, I kind of remember that now.
Yeah.
The message, and then came here to the house. And
I probably talked your ear off for hours and hours.
Well, that's okay, because I'm usually the one talking somebody's ears off. I still got them, so
I'm known as a social bully.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that.
So, my wife, I think, would say I'm a social tramp.
Well, it's kind of your job, right?
Right. Yeah.
I always tell this funny little story, if I can. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No, we're talking.
So here's Tommy Chong doing an interview on the radio.
Yeah.
One of the Cheech and Chong guys.
And
the interview says to him, he says, "Do you still smoke pot?" and it goes quiet for a minute, and Tommy Chong, in this kind of boyish sort of response, he says, "Well, it's kind of my job."
Right.
So when you say it's your job to talk, that's what I thought about.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I did go to the show that night, and it was a lot of fun. So, yeah.
I wonder what Cheech and Chong would, how they would be as a movie today, with marijuana and everything. It's all legalized and everything.
I wonder
if they could even make a movie about that.
I wonder. I really wonder. They were very funny guys. They were ahead of their time, and
Where's
and
the
they
license
corrupted
plate?
a whole generation.
On the back of the car, right?
Yeah.
Dave's not here.
Dave's not here.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. No, I thought they were very, very funny guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was amazed, actually. I had a cassette tape of Cheech and Chong, and the whole Dave's Not Here was on it and whatever, and my mother actually let me listen to it.
Yeah, that's Big Bamboo.
Maybe, yeah. And
see, if you have the album, it comes with a monster-sized cigarette paper.
Oh,
very valuable.
I think about now that my mother just let me listen to that, and it was a different time, right?
Well, she probably didn't get it.
Probably.
Yeah.
I did kind of listen to it under my pillow, so maybe she didn't know what was going on. I used to listen to Richard Pryor under my.
I was going to say, I grew up with a lot of funny people, and we used to listen to a lot of funny things. And there was a lot of it around, on recorded albums, like you say, the Cheech and Chong stuff.
Yeah.
Even Bill Cosby. I mean, there was a time when he was an okay guy. He was very, very funny. And Richard Pryor, of course, like you say.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys weren't available to most of us. I mean, you had to they were recorded records, or you'd have to really well go to a show. They weren't on TV very much.
No.
But thinking about comedy, the other day I was listening to one of my favorites is Jerry Seinfeld. I really like that guy.
Yeah.
But one thing I really like about him is that he doesn't bring the nasty language to his show. It's funny because in comedy when we were kids, like on Ed Sullivan or any of these shows, you had to be funny. Right. You had to tell funny stories that had that worked.
Well, look at Don Rickles, right?
That
kind of guy. Bob Hope, and all that stuff.
But even Don Rickles, even him, I remember when he faded away. He was on Johnny Carson, And he made a Jewish joke when it was still okay to do that.
Right.
And not saying that it was ever okay to do that.
No, but at that time it was accepted.
I've been to Poland, okay? I got my own ideas about that. But he cracked this joke about 3 guys walking to the bar, one's of this, one's of that, one's of this. And the next thing you know, Johnny says, "We'll be back after this commercial." And they came back, but Don Rickles was nowhere to be seen. So that was the kind of thing that it was okay for a while, and then it's not. And comedy evolves that way. Right? And it's getting to be that way now, where if you're using a lot of language in your show, you're not as popular as
you wouldn't have been able to calm Richard Pryor down. He was the leader for.
And he was good at
for
it.
the F word. You know what? It's funny you bring this up, because just last night I was sitting in the living room and thinking about the next day, meeting today, and we were going to talk about it and everything. And I go on Netflix and I watched a Richard Pryor on stage.
Brilliant guy.
In 1979 it was. And man, he let it go, but he had a lot of improv going on in there in the beginning. He was making fun of white people and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But what do you think have we canceled too much, Robert?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so, but I don't know. Maybe I'm past the age of where my opinion counts. But it seems to me that we're sort of canceling a few things, maybe a little abruptly.
Like Bugs Bunny.
Maybe there needs to be okay, Bugs Bunny is a good one. Yeah. I read something somewhere. Somebody said
it was Pepe Le Pew or whatever.
Somebody was saying that it's like being mad at yourself when you're 60 for something you did when you're 10.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like pushing over the statues and things. And I don't know. Again, I don't have really an opinion about that, but I'm watching the world evolve. I am, and it stayed so the same for the longest time, including interest rates. By the way, don't get me going on that. But a lot of things were stable. Everything was working nicely. But all of a sudden there was this disruption, and you can see how quickly things can turn nasty too, which is a whole other.
It's interesting. The generations, like I always believe, like people don't really change. It's more of what's around us, and the world changes. And let's go back again to the 70s. We're talking about comedy. Archie Bunker, and the 2 most unlikely friends, Archie and George Jefferson.
Yes.
And I remember, eeny, meeny, miny, mo at school, and that was okay. The teacher was right there, and it was okay. I'm not, when I say okay, I mean it was maybe never okay, but it was accepted at the time because we went home and we watched Archie Bunker.
But we didn't know it was wrong to do that.
No, that's right. That's
until later on, right? So it's a slippery slope. I think we have to be as nice as we can, and be as helpful as we can.
Would you say that we have evolved as people, or are we going in the right direction?
Well, I think if you stand still, you evolve.
Yeah.
Or things evolve around you and you follow it. I think, of course it evolves. I mean, things move. They move at different speeds. They move at different times, and it's glaciers move. You know what I mean? Right. Like mountains move. Mountains are formed. They're plates that shift and they come up through the ground. It takes a long time, but you look at a mountain and think, "Oh, look at that." It makes it sounds like it happened overnight, but the world's been doing this for 4.5 billion years, and we've only been here for a couple thousand. and in that little bit of time,
we're like a scratch on the scratch on the scratch of the scratch.
We have nothing to do with like Mother Nature will let's save the planet. The planet will be fine. Save the people.
Yeah.
The planet will do fine without us. Yeah, and it will be without us.
It will at some point.
Absolutely,
right.
it's done.
The dinosaurs are gone. We're next.
It's been happening forever. So things move. Things become extinct. Things that the Earth doesn't need get discarded, or they die, or they burn up, or they get rained on, or they get tornadoed away, or something. So it turns out that we weren't the best thing for the Earth.
Maybe,
unfortunately, in some ways.
When we talk about the cancel culture and being offended and all that stuff, let's go back to your, let's say, high school years.
Mm-hmm.
what was going on when you were in high school? What was the music like? Because I know you're a music fan, and what was besides Elvis, what was offensive at the time?
Well, what was offensive at the time? A lot of things were. When I was younger, there was a lot of like any teenagers, I think, were sort of drawn towards forbidden items. I mean, whatever they were.
Rebellion?
Like in my dad's time, it might have been a dirty magazine under the bed,
Right.
sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And in our time, it was things like National Lampoon just started. So now I'm watching the Vietnam War still pretty strong, and how that's working. I'm getting interested in inadvertently interested in politics just because I watch the news every night with my dad, right?
Yep.
And those kinds of things were going on, but there was another kind of thing that was going on, like Saturday Night Live was just the wildest, funniest thing going.
Right.
It was okay to be John Belushi, you know. You could, so that meant you could go to school and act out. Now you got Cheech and Chong and John Belushi, like all these people telling you it's okay to be wild and crazy and enjoy yourself, which was a fun time. You know, hippies were kind of winding down. Disco music was getting to be a big thing. These are the things.
Were you a disco guy?
I don't think so. I wasn't against it, but I'll tell you, I was secretly tapping my toe. You know, I mean, I really, and to this day, I mean, I still like to crank up some of that tunes, make myself a pot of soup.
Give me Staying Alive. Let's go.
I mean, they're memories, they're nostalgic, they're this, they're that. I don't know what to think of it, but yeah, I mean, what a fun thing to have two eyes and have them open and watch all this going on, you know, and actually really get into it. And instead of watching it, you get to be in it.
Did you get into it? Like, did you step your toe into what was going on around you at the time?
I think so. Like again, just being young. I mean, you at that age, you knew where the parties were. You knew what was going on. Now, I was a little bit different because I sort of liked the idea of working and having money. That was another thing too. Is that there was this. I don't know what it was, but most of the guys in my neighborhood, which was a blue collar neighborhood.
Okay.
I mean,
where was that?
In London, Ontario.
Okay.
I grew up in the northeast end of London, Ontario.
Yep.
Certainly wasn't fancy. Almost nobody I knew went to university. You know, it just wasn't the way it was. I mean, you know, girls became secretaries and nurses, and guys went to the factory and got a job. Right. My dad, lucky enough, he was a fireman, so he did okay that way. But yeah, there was just all kinds of things. It was just a busy time.
And were you having fun? Like, did you enjoy that part of life?
I was, yeah. We'd go to concerts all the time. There was, I had a job. I was washing dishes. Actually, they called you a porter. I was a porter, kitchen porter at the University of Western Ontario. And we were making big bucks. Like we were like $1.65 an hour or something like that. And we would make enough money in a week to buy a concert ticket. So you could go see whoever you wanted to. It was just a matter of waiting a couple of weeks until whoever it was came along. Like it was either Jethro Tull was coming, or the Rolling Stones were coming, or Led Zeppelin.
Did you see them?
Yeah. There were bus tours from London that went to Pontiac Stadium. They went to Rich Stadium in Buffalo, to Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. I think I saw the Rolling Stones one summer like 5 times.
Wow.
And it was just on and on and on like that. You could go to, I remember going into a little bar, this gal I knew called up and she says, I'm going to see K.D. Lang tonight. Do you want to go see K.D. Lang? I said, who the hell is K.D. Lang? I said, yeah, I'll go. Where is it? It's some little armpit bar down on King Street. And there's like 8 people there. And K.D. Lang shows up in a wedding dress and army boots and just lit the whole place on fire. And you know, a year later, holy jumping Jupiter, all the cattle farmers hate her because she's a vegetarian now. I think, how did she get that much press that fast? But she was really good, and she came out of nowhere. Man, I'll tell you. Same with the Bare Naked Ladies. I remember, actually, I was older than I actually owned my first house by that time, but I remember going to see the Bare Naked Ladies for free at the Western Fair.
Oh, yeah.
And they were really, really good, you know? But yeah, I got to see a lot of music. And later in life, I think I was about maybe 45 years old or something.
Okay.
I had a friend of mine who worked at the Free Press, and she calls me up and she says, I got 2 tickets to go see Bill Wyman tonight at Harris Park. You know who Bill Wyman is?
No,
He's the bass player from the Rolling Stones.
Oh, okay.
So Bill Wyman
I
gets
knew the
this little
name.
band together. It's called Bill Wyman and the Rhythm Kings. And he's got a guy from Procol Harum, a couple of guys from who knows where, like all these like old musicians.
Yeah,
He just like
classic
phoned
guys.
them up. And there's about 12 of them. And they were just wild maniacs. So here I'm. He does 2 shows in Canada, one in Windsor and one in London, Ontario. I thought, how lucky is that? You know? And it was one of the best concerts I was ever at. So yeah. So things like that were exciting. And then, you know, for me, because I'm curious about bloody everything.
Yeah.
You just start reading about it and starting putting dots together. And even now at 65 years old, I can't avoid a good story or a cool photograph of.
You like to learn, eh?
Yeah, I do.
Like
I just absorb things like crazy. But I'll tell you, one thing I'm bad at is reading. Like I can't read. I can't learn that way. I have a learning disability, and it stops me from doing a lot of things. So I have to absorb this different ways. So when I say I read about something, like I'm scanning, I'm looking for facts. I skip over the ins and the thes and all.
I can relate.
Yeah, I got to get through this. It's a mission for me. I got 20 minutes to do it, and maybe I'm a speed reader by osmosis or something. I don't know what it is, but and hanging on to that information can be a little bit tough. But the things that happened a long time ago are easy for me to remember, but sometimes the short-term things get a little bit of a problem. But
I'm the same way.
So big, right?
My wife would say I wasn't listening, but I'm like, no, I really was. But
well, you know what you say to your wife? You say, well, you say a lot of things.
Right?
I said that once. It wasn't good.
How'd that turn out?
It wasn't very good. It wasn't, but I want to see somebody else feel that.
Does your wife have a sense of humor?
Yes,
she would have to.
She does. Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, it kind of comes with the territory. Yeah.
Listen, it's really obvious. We're listening and I love your stories. Your voice is very distinct, and I'm sure you've had people say, "Oh, you should be on radio, and you should do this, and you should do that with your voice."
I do voiceover work.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's always been kind of a hobby or a side sort of thing for me. I get some pretty good gigs. I mean, I work at it. I've taken some training, and it's something that I like. And one of the biggest reasons I do it, and I'll tell you why, is that every second person I speak to asks me that question. And they say, do you work over at the radio station? No, I don't work over at the radio station. I don't work at the radio station. But it's just, it's a gift I've had, and I thought, I really am going to now push this forward a little bit stronger now in my retirement, because you have to do things that you can do naturally, right? Voice work, it's not quite that. It's not as easy as people think it is.
There's just talking to a microphone, send it in, and get paid.
There's a lot more to it.
A little more to that.
The biggest hurdle for me has been the equipment. So, and it always has been, because I'm not a technology person.
Yeah.
But you have to make friends with the technology. Yeah. So if it was just a matter of reading scripts, well, I shouldn't say that too, because when I go to other places, like I go to other studios to do work every once in a while.
Oh, okay.
And it's just not the same. When I'm here at home, there's certain times of the day where I sound different, and sometimes I sound really good, sometimes not as good. Sometimes you have more energy, and all that comes through in the sound of your voice. So I'm free to do that when it feels right for me, like when the furnace is off and no one's home, sort of thing. And so it's something I pull at, but really, it's really only because people have said that to me. And when I was in high school, at our high school, we had a program there. It was called Television Arts and Radio Broadcasting. It was a 2-year program at our high school. And I was in that program as well. So, I mean, I had some training, but at that time, even the equipment we had at school was very old. Like it looked like it was old Army equipment or something. Like it was hand-me-down stuff from probably some old TV station. And it wasn't really the best, but but you were able to learn the mechanics of it. And it was, and we learned a lot of things there. So that was nice. So that's always been in the background for me. And now I'm just going to move that a little bit more forward. So, that's my thought anyway.
You've done that. And then last time I was over here a few years ago, that was, am I going to get this right? Hydroponics?
I've done a couple of things. Okay. In my younger time, I was a chef. Okay. So I was a chef until I was about 35, 40 years old.
Okay.
I worked in Switzerland. I worked in Italy. I worked in London, Ontario. I was head chef at the Marienbad restaurant for about 12 years. And then I opened a little joint on Wortley Road called the Rivertown Cook Shop. And I ran that until I was about 38 years old. And I sold that. And that was great. Then I took some time off because I've been working nonstop for 7 years at the restaurant.
Yeah, right.
It's
24/7.
Literally
Yep.
every single day. I
get
had
it.
no time off. You just couldn't. And probably if I was managed things better, I could have. But anyways, that's another story. I didn't. Let's put it that way. I didn't. So after that, I had a lot of skills from high school that were related to the construction industry.
Oh,
So I started being kind of a upper kind of expensive handyman sort of thing, you would say. So I would go and attract jobs. I would, and I liked doing that. I was by myself. I wasn't dealing with the public. And that's what I really liked, because I could go to work now and it was very quiet. Where in the restaurant, the phone was always ringing. Somebody always wanted me. Some bank was on the phone. Somebody lost something. Somebody wanted to order something or sell something. It just never stopped. So I like that. A lot of people don't like the trades, but I really enjoyed it. And I got good at it. So I did that for a long time. And then when we moved here, I decided it was time. I'd had enough of that. And I was probably 55 years old. So we were here for a while, and my wife kept asking me, are you going to do something? And I vacuumed and that sort of thing. So then my wife came up with the idea of microgreens, growing microgreens.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I started to look into it, and I wouldn't call myself a business specialist, but I know how many beans make five.
Right.
So I started to figure this out a little bit, and I thought, geez, this looks like it has the potential of being,
profitable and sustainable.
Yeah, it was pretty. So we looked in it. So I looked as hard as I could to make sure that no one else was doing this. Because the last thing I want to do is, I don't want to get into competition with anybody. I don't want to, somebody else is already doing it here. I thought, what kind of a dick, come up with something different. I mean, that's what I would do.
Be creative.
Yeah, come up with something unique, right? Have people follow you rather than you follow others. Yeah. It was my idea, right? Yeah. So, and it's always worked well for me. So we started that. We grew them, and I can show you the little room over there later. But we did it. We did it well. We started off down at the market for a while. That went kind of sour, and then we started to do it just direct, which was the best way for me, because I told you I used to be a chef, right?
Yeah.
So my whole thing is getting the food to the mouth in the best possible condition it can be.
Right.
Okay. The food to the mouth, to the best spot. That's the focus, okay? So you got to do everything you can to make sure that's the best possible way you can do it. So what I wanted to do was, okay, so we had a few retail stores after the market fiasco.
Okay.
We had a few retail stores, but it was killing me. I would take an order to the stores and give it to somebody and think, it's out of my hands now. Now I got a middle guy, a middle person getting between me and the customer. And what I really wanted to do, I want to get that in your refrigerator as quickly as possible. Yeah. So we decided to change the model to a direct delivery business. And that's how we did it for a long, long time. And I just wanted to stay in it for a little while. And like I say, we made money at it and did it for a couple of years. Yeah, it worked really well for us, and we were successful at it. But I just got tired of it and bored, and wanted to go on to the next thing. It's not the having, it's the getting. It's the building it up.
I feel like that's happened to you a lot in life, where you do something and you get bored, and then you and I are really similar. I got to tell you, because you can say things like, oh, that guy, he just doesn't stick to one thing, and it's like, I want to keep growing, right? I want to keep
the last cook I hire is the guy who worked at the same place for 25 years. That's the last guy I want to cook my food. Right. I want the guy who's been all over the place, worked in many, many places, got bored and left, and that's how it works, right? So but we good. We sold that. We sold the microgreens business, all the equipment, and we sold it with training. So we taught the new people how to do it. Okay. They're in a different city, by the way, and it worked well, and it was good. I just got tired of the technology. I got tired of spending all my time on Facebook, and I got tired of being a peddler. Right. Oh, come on, buy a microgreen, and I just didn't like it. But so we did that.
It was successful. Thanks. Yeah. Next thing.
It's nice to try. And one of the nice things about it was, I was still thinking about, I keep trying to, if I have an idea of a business I want to start or a function or whatever it is, I use a pad of paper, okay, and I'll write down, what are the 10 next things that I need to know to find, and I'm trying to prove that it won't work. I'm not excited about, oh, I'm going to do this and it's going to be great. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to find out what's wrong with it. Okay. I want to see why won't it work and what would discourage me from doing it.
Okay.
So I go through these lists and I get through those 10. Well, that worked out pretty good. So the next one is, okay, let's call up the, there was some business helper people in town, right? So I phone them. And I'll tell you, that was so what a negative experience that was. Oh, you'll never get insurance for that. Oh, you'll never be able to sell things at the market. And I thought, well, challenge accepted.
Right.
So the first thing I did was the city will never let you do it at home. Right. So I went down to the city and I said, hey, you know what? How about this? I'm going to work out of my basement. Okay. And I don't know, like, what's wrong with that? I got no trucks coming delivered. There's more trucks up and down my street from UPS from people getting books delivered than me getting seeds. Like, you tell me why I can't do this. You can do that. You can do that. Right. Okay, fine. I thought, well, why would they tell me I couldn't?
Well, isn't it interesting that happened? Because, I mean, and we're all guilty of what I'm about to say.
There's a little more to it than what I just. I'm not saying anybody can open a business, and I'm not saying that. Okay, so there's a little more to it than that. I'm not going to go into that.
But when somebody said, "Well, you can't do that, and can't do that," and my first question is, "What's your experience with what you're telling me?"
What was on TV last night?
Right. Because we're all guilty of saying, "Oh, well, I heard you can sue this guy over this and da da da," or "I saw this and that's the," and it's like, I don't take medical advice from a lawyer, and I don't take legal advice from a doctor.
David.
But we all think we know something. Well, I heard.
Don't phone your girlfriend when you got a headache.
I often I often say to people, and I'm guilty of being very blunt, and it gets me in trouble sometimes, but it's like, that's interesting. Can you tell me where you got that information that you just told me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I heard. Oh, okay. So then I go, okay, so you really don't know what you're talking about.
A judge would just say that's hearsay.
Right.
It's not admissible. It's not admissible.
So it's not that you're being negative when you write these. Why won't it work? But what can I do to make it work?
Yeah. And you got to be honest. Listen, the worst enemy of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are biggest liars going because they lie to themselves all the time.
Yeah.
This is my definition of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a guy that 40,000 feet in an airplane will jump out of the airplane and know that between the airplane and the ground, he's going to find a parachute.
Right.
That's an entrepreneur.
Really?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. I'm not quite there. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
Not quite. I'm a little bit more realistic that way. But you got to be practical.
Because I call myself an entrepreneur.
Well, you are. But
I'm not looking for the I'm not stupid.
There's different levels of it. There's different. And I'm exaggerating when I say that. But I'm saying you try to make what everyone calls impossible possible. Yeah. And like, what's the latest thing everyone says now? Everybody says it's impossible until it's done.
Right.
And there's some truth to that. So
jumping out of an airplane, you remind me, my mother told me a joke when Pierre Trudeau was prime minister. And there's three guys on a plane. One was the pilot.
This isn't a Don Rickles joke, is it?
And I don't know.
I'm kidding.
Maybe she stole it. I don't know. Or there's four people on a plane, but there's only 3 parachutes.
Yeah. Okay. Right? I know this story.
And the pilot says, well, I got to take the black box back down, so I got to go.
Right.
And then, it was an old man, a young man, a pilot, and the brains of Canada.
Okay.
Pierre Trudeau.
Okay.
Captain says, well, I got to go because I got to get back to the airport and take the black box to what's happened. Okay, fine. Right. Old man looks at the young man, says, young man, I've had a great life, and you're just starting yours, so you take the last one. But before that was said, the brains of Canada said, I'm the prime minister, and I must get back to Canada, so I'm going. And he takes the bag, and away he goes.
Took the knapsack or something.
Brains of Canada took my knapsack. Right?
That's right. I forgot that.
Mom did steal that then, because I thought she made that up.
Oh, I heard that before. Yeah, and I think it's trending.
But that's the kind of thinking you're referring to, right?
Exactly.
It's like, let's just process. Yeah. I wasn't always a processor. I had to
don't listen to no.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like being told no.
No. I mean,
what you're doing is stupid. like,
well, there's a way, there's an approach.
Sure.
I think you can help somebody. You can, I mean, if somebody's about to put their arm in the fire, there's, you can kind of talk them out of it
Sure.
if it won't help, if it won't be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pierre Trudeau, that was, you remember him obviously, and now to where we are now. What's your? Let's go to politics here now. Are you observing this? What's going on at a federal, and do you watch at a local level?
Well, I like to find comedy in things. So what I found a couple of weeks ago, and I like to read a lot of different news sources.
Okay.
There's some I don't read. But
do you watch CNN?
No, I don't.
No.
I'm not a television person.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Do you know what CNN stands for?
No.
Constantly negative news.
Okay, there you go. Okay, well, I wouldn't know about that, but there's a lot of that out there, I suppose. Yeah. And but one thing I like hearing that. Okay, I'm not on any team. I don't really care who's in charge because I know that the country runs by people who aren't elected. They're the ones that run the country. There's some people that make some laws here and there and stand in front and say, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. Which, maybe it is. Maybe. They throw numbers around like billion and million and zillion, and nobody really knows what that means. And that's fine. So in one sense, it's sort of harmless. It's sort of not really going to hurt us all that much. So then I hear, okay, here's a picture of the younger Trudeau fellow, the prime minister, and he's got himself a bandage on his forehead on Monday, right? And they bumped into a door or something. He's playing with his kids. And so then Thursday he's getting divorced. And all I could think of was iron frying pan in the forehead. And I thought, he really did something stupid. That's what he did. He did something stupid and he got an iron frying pan in the forehead. Like, even if you hate your husband, even if for all these things, but he's the prime minister of the country you want to be smart. Like your instinct might be to let's split up, but you don't do that midway while all the things are going kind of well for you. I mean, you kind of wait till it's all over and say, hey, you know what, by the way, I think I'm going to take my half now and shuffle off to Buffalo. But you got to do something really bad to get hit with a frying pan. Like when you're still mid-stride, I think. So
it's a good example.
But I don't really know what to think of. But to me, it's just the same. It's like a bathtub. I mean, you get the blue guys have a turn for a while and the red guys have a turn for a while. And maybe every 5 or 6 cycles we'll get the orange guys in there for a few minutes in a province or something. But for the most part, does it really affect you? I don't know if it does. I don't know. Maybe it does. But I don't know. I'm not one to slander them either way. Like they're just people, and Justin, I don't know if he's there because his father was the prime minister. Let's be honest here. I mean, his qualifications were, I think, teaching and snowboarding or something. He wasn't Mark Carney. I mean, he wasn't known as a financial guru or something like that. And it just proves that what the qualifications really are. And again, in Canadian politics, anybody can do it. It doesn't necessarily attract the best and the brightest we have. Maybe, I don't know, but it's. I don't know what to think.
Are we doing okay? Like, are we?
I think so.
I think Canada's pretty good for the most part.
Yeah,
I mean,
interest rates.
The country doesn't have a bad thing going on.
My first house I bought, interest rates were 7%, and that was fantastic.
Yeah,
that was a fantastic, manageable thing to do to buy a house. So, mortgage money now at 4 and 5% is. I mean, we all should have had mortgages at 1%.
It's the cheapest money you can borrow.
It really is cheap money. Right? It really is.
Speaking of money, do you is that something that you look closely at as far as like finances and how to manage money and I don't just mean like. Okay, like I have this much money coming. I'm talking about growing your money. And do you look at those kind of things?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's if it's not growing, there's no staying the same. You're either losing or you're winning.
We need more than a savings account, don't we?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I think there's always opportunities that way. Unfortunately, with the market, opportunities are not intuitive, meaning that if something goes down a lot, you should buy it, but it's just a hard thing to do, and if it's
fear of loss
and it's not instinctive to sell it when you should, as on the way up. So those are the sort of things that I think people need to know about. I'm not that good at it. My wife looks after that mostly, and she's really, really good at it.
Yeah.
She invites me to participate. I do, here and there, and I can see that with a little bit of paying attention, things can work well for you.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of things. I think there's an attitude with it too. Like, we don't spend. And I think that's the best way to make your money grow, is don't spend it. I mean, we don't, we eat at home. We just don't spend money.
But you can't take it with you.
No, but no, that's
So
true.
that cushion.
Well, there's not
just
that
in
much
case
to worry about. So,
right. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, we were lucky. I mean, we had a house in London that we were smart enough to keep, and we rent, and that just turned into craziness, since we moved here. And when we moved to Sarnia, I was of the thinking that we'd be lucky if we bought a house here. We'd be lucky to sell it 10 years later for what we paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was only in my opinion. It was based on nothing, believe me. But I got here, and all of a sudden I could see, hey, geez, the place next door is sold.
Right.
The street, and I'm seeing the prices.
Still a pretty decent market. I mean, the peak has gone
excellent.
down. Yeah.
I think it's still pretty strong.
Yeah. What brought you from London? You lived in London most of your life?
All my life.
All your life.
Yeah.
And then Sarnia.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, my wife's from Poland.
Okay.
And she doesn't necessarily have any romantic ties to any place in Canada. And she came here with a chemical engineering degree. Mm-hmm. And then she went to Fanshawe College and took a few, actually about 3 years of courses there in environmental studies.
Nice.
And then she was invited to work here, so as a scientist. So she works here in the Valley as a scientist. And so that's what motivated us to come here. And I said to her then, I said, welcome to London, by the way. Been here for half an hour, and but nobody moves to Sarnia. Okay, you leave Sarnia, you don't go there. It's like running into the fire. And I thought that was just the way it was. That's what I thought about it. I had no idea about the waterfront. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that was done. I had no idea. I was there, and in about 10 minutes, I fell in love with the place. Yeah. And the next time I went back to London, which was about 2 weeks later, I just thought, ick. I just didn't care for it. I was just happy to be home. I couldn't get home here fast enough. Yeah. There's no trains to stop you. Every intersection has advanced greens that always work, not sometimes work. There's just all kinds of little things. I lost a glove at a dentist office, and 2 days later, this dentist phone. She said, I'm phoning yesterday's clients to see who lost a glove.
Right.
That's what
Sarnia?
I thought that was fantastic. Yeah, no, it's true. There's
I have a friend of mine. I always refer to him, David Noel. I don't know if you know him.
No.
He I steal his line. He calls it, when he goes away, people say, "Where are you from?" And he says, "I live in Ontario, the southwestern Ontario Riviera."
There you go. That's right. The west coast of Ontario.
And it really is. I mean, the water's clean, and even though we just live down the street from the valley, right?
I don't notice it.
I
don't notice it. So.
Well, it's interesting. The reason I like to ask that question when somebody I talk to moved here is, living here all my life, I often hear, I'm going away. But I feel like most people eventually come back.
It's true.
And there's been this thing of Sarn hole. I hate it when I hear that.
I never heard of that before.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and just different things, right? And different things. And I'm like, so go ahead and move away if you don't like where you're at. Mm. But to come here, I think a lot of people would say people don't come to Sarnia, but we're seeing it even more now.
It's true.
Toronto.
It's a best kept secret. There's nothing wrong with the place.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong. Wonderful everything. Really, there's restaurants. Like when she said that, my wife said, "Oh, we're going to move to Sarnia. I think we should." No, she showed me.
That's a big compliment for you to say, being a chef, to say.
Oh yeah,
the restaurants
there's good food here. Yeah, good places for sure. Yeah. Even like low level street food, like a hot dog. I mean, it's good. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. What's sports, entertainment? Like, what do you? I know obviously music's a big part of it, but you spend any time like at the Imperial Theater, that type of stuff?
I like the theater a lot. I was just I saw you there, I think, at Sarnia Sings.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that
that's
place.
right.
I love that.
How did you
that
like Sarnia
event.
Sings? That was your first one.
I loved that event.
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough of it. Really,
Yeah.
I was in tears, literally. Like, I get so moved by music, right? I just couldn't. I couldn't handle it. And then I'm sitting next door to someone. I think the fourth or fifth singer. The guy leans over. That's my daughter. And I thought, oh, this is cool. And he was going berserk, and I just love, like, just being that close to that was so exciting, you know. But it was
unrehearsed.
That's what I don't get about it. This is what because again, I've done some theater work. I've been in a few plays in my life. Like I say, I do recording things that are full of rehearsal. It's just all kinds of things. There's posts you have to hit, timing, all kinds of things that come into play. And for a band and a singer to show up and play together like that, I almost died when I found out that they walked on cold and played with the band.
Yep.
I just couldn't believe it. That's
the only, if I will let the cat out of the bag, the only real like rehearsal was like the day of, about an hour before the show, maybe an hour and a half, and everybody, if they wanted, got about 30 seconds to go. Like, okay, that's the right key, and
hardly a rehearsal.
It's just a.
That just shows how pro that was.
If anything, it's just to make people more comfortable.
What's the guy? What's the guy who started?
Adam Dumont.
Adam. I spoke to Adam on the phone, actually, when I first saw the ad for it. And I called him up and I says, what in the wide world of sports are you doing? Like, I wanted to know the whole thing about it. And I was so excited listening to what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I said,
he's incredible.
Tell me about the band. He says, I wish, you know, he says, I've got a lot of pushback because they're from out of town. He says, but I'm going to tell you something. He says, I hired these guys from Toronto. They've all been playing together for years. They're all 30-year plus experience as musicians.
Pro musicians.
You ask them to play anything, they'll play it. If somebody can deliver that to me, I'd love to hear it. He says, but this is something I don't have to worry about. I call up, I hire these guys, they show up when they're supposed to, they do the job. I don't have to worry about it. I've got so many things on my mind. And he says, this works so well. And on that endorsement alone, of course, I was interested in the singers, but that band, I really wanted to hear them.
Yeah.
And I'm
Moist, Killer Dwarfs.
My hands, my palms are sweating when they start to sing. I want them to succeed so much. Like you're, and that's the thing you have to learn about performing. When you're up there and you're nervous on the stage, the audience is as nervous as you are. They want you to succeed. Their hands are sweating because they want you to win the game, you know, and they're all right behind you. And then when it comes off like that, it all comes together. Wow. Nothing like it. And song after song after song after song went like that.
It just kept
everything
going, right?
I've got a lot of ideas for him. I really do. I'd like to see this thing develop into something even bigger.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a good thing.
He's working on that, so you should keep that conversation going.
I thought I'd keep my mouth shut and just get out of the way because that's someone else's creativity.
Yeah.
Let him do it. He's done.
No.
He's on the
right
track.
Adam, he's going to give you a call.
No.
100% do it.
I wouldn't.
He wants to hear those ideas.
Yeah. No. Well, maybe we'll hook up.
We have conversations often about it, and I know he's got
comedians want their own jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get that. You know. So
no, Adam's an open guy. He loves to hear new ideas. He might not take it, but he'll listen.
No. I think he's got a great idea there. And I can see it it never end. I can see it at minimum a 2-day event.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, easily. You know, I'd like to see something for like in age groups. You know, like for the youngsters sort of thing, like maybe at a different location, but make it into more of a festival because it really is.
Maybe,
Sarnia Sings. It's got a really good ring to it. Yeah. But I love him, man. He's done.
Well, I was glad to hear that because you'd messaged. He said, "Oh, I'm coming to see this show, buddy," and you were like, "I want to hear you sing, David." And I was
right. You did it. You did a good job too. You're the karaoke king for that.
I was. Yeah.
I forgot about that. And that wild suit, was it a suit or a shirt? What was it? A jacket?
The jacket, the blazer jacket.
Yeah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Right from Nudies. You know Nudies?
No,
that's in Nashville. He's the guy that used to make all the cowboy costumes and stuff. Yeah.
Well, and it's my wife picked that out, and beautiful. I used to wear really loud shirts when I started the show and stuff, and she was embarrassed to go in public with me.
Yeah.
And so she toned me down a bit. Yeah. And then when she picked that out, I was like, really? Like I thought. She's like, no, that's great. Classy. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And I have so much fun doing that.
All decked out like a rainbow trout. It was beautiful. Yeah.
And I'm grateful Adam Dumont asked me a few years ago to participate.
Yeah.
And it's got a personal attachment.
It's got a great event.
The whole mental health and
right.
suicide awareness
yeah.
To that. So
yeah. Oh, there's enough of that going around.
I'm glad that you were able to come out and enjoy that. So
no, I would encourage anyone to do it. And I think it was sold out. Was it not sold out?
Maybe lack of 5 seats or something, but
all those people will come back next year.
Absolutely.
It's
sold out every year.
Yeah. So it's I can see that being more and more.
Well, we know Robert's coming back.
I'll be there for sure. Yes, I'll encourage people to. Yeah.
What are you doing when are you a sports fan or anything like that? Hockey,
not much.
Ball? No.
I want to be a hockey fan.
Yeah, come to a Sting game.
I gave up on it years ago. I don't know. I'm just tired of it. Yeah, I have been to a few of the Sting games before too, and not just on the bandwagon. I wouldn't call myself a fan of any sort of sports team of any kind. I used to like Proline a lot. I like the one that paid good. That was my team today. Yeah. So, but as far as being a sports fan, no, I was never. And it's like that. I mean, you ask kids today, do you like music or do you like sports? And it's one or the other. Like it's rarely like for me, sports like frisbee. But beyond that, no. I like a good play off of any game of any sort of thing, right? Like even the end of the.
Just want to see a good game.
Yeah. And I used to like hockey, and then one time I was. This is a funny little story. So I was living with a friend of mine, and he was a sports nut. He had like 3 TVs going all the time. He got the car race on one, the baseball game on this one, football game. So one day he says to me, "Bobby, we're going to Chicago." And I said, "What?" Like we were roommates, right? And he was like this. He was just, "Let's do it." He says, "Come on." So we just walked out of the house that morning, Saturday morning, and now we're driving to Chicago, and we've got a few Canadian dollars with us. And we forgot to exchange. So anyway, we went to the last hockey game that was ever played at Chicago Stadium against the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is my first NHL game, right? And I'm loving it. Gilmore's playing, I think. Wendell Clark is on the team, and it's the white jerseys, blue background. Everything was just so sexy. The Oregon's going. The people are stomping in the stadium, just like you've heard about. And I'm not even a hockey fan, okay? Yeah. And I'm just loving it.
It's just an exciting room.
It's just an exciting room. And then all of a sudden, there's a play going on. They're skating down the ice, and Stompin' Tom's going to write a song about it. It was just so wild, and they stopped playing. So I said to my friend, I said, "Ricky, what happened? Like, why did they stop playing?" "Oh, it's a TV commercial." I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "They've got this great play going and they stop it for a TV commercial." He says, "Yeah." And the players just like lean on their sticks. And I thought, you just let all the air out of it for me. Yeah. Well, I didn't care for that, but that's just part of it.
They time it better than that now, just so you know.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, they don't just stop a play. The play's over and then they go to a TV commercial. And then they wait. Yeah.
The shootout came along. I didn't care for that very much.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, it just wasn't the original game, And then the goalie started to look like the Michelin Man, Like, I mean, oh my God, like, I mean, how are we going to get the puck in the hole? Like, there's no hole. Like, I get the mask, Jacques Plante. Let's wear a mask and some pads and stuff like that. Sure, but come on, you're a sportsman. I mean,
they're still putting them in the net though.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah. But
come to a Sting game again. I will. On me.
I like it. And it's only around the corner too, which is great. Because
we're very lucky to have an OHL. Of course, I'm a little favorite there, but just to have an OHL team, and we are the only OHL team to have the arena on campus.
Oh, okay.
Like college, right?
Okay, right.
There's no other OHL.
That was confusing the first time I went there, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it was at the college. I thought, okay, well,
how's this going to be? This going to be 500 people in there.
Yeah.
You got to come back for sure.
Yeah. No, I liked the stadium over there. It was great, and the enthusiasm towards the team was really nice too. So. Yeah. And I was there for something else. There was some magic show or some circus not too long ago. I went to see
Cirque du Soleil. Yeah. I forget what it was called, but they have it.
It was entertaining.
Yeah. Well, our tourism puts a lot of those events on.
Okay.
Ontario's Blue Coast.
Yeah. There's tons to do here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're bored here, it's your own fault. There's tons to do. I mean, if you go looking
even for young people.
if you want to.
Yeah.
You know,
Depends
I mean,
what you
there's
wanna do.
sports all over the place.
There's a
Look at
lot
the
of
sports
fishing
fields.
going on.
A lot of fishing going on. Yeah,
You
no, it's
fisher
wonderful.
guy?
No, I'm not a fisher either. No,
Yeah.
no. I did one. Yeah, no, that was another long story. Yeah.
You've got a lot of stories.
Where I work in Switzerland. This is the funny story.
Yeah,
if
tell
we
it.
have time. So
Trivia.
I'm working in the kitchen in Switzerland, right? And this is a very, how do you say it? It's a very old style brigade style kitchen. So you've got
Okay.
a chef, you've got sous chefs, you've got chef garde-manger, you've got chef saucier, all these different departments that you work in. So I got a job at this place. I got a job there. Someone told me you can never get a job in Switzerland. Okay. Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. So I 80 resumes later, I finally get one in German. Right here, you can come and work for us. Here's your contract. So I went. So anyways, one of the jobs I had was I was in the garde-manger at this time. So what that means is that you're working with the cold food. Okay, the salads, these kinds of things, the garnishes that go on plates and that sort of thing. But one thing we had to. Okay. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is when I went over to a different department, and this guy's title was poissonnier or something like that, he was the fish guy. He was
okay.
So my job was to go downstairs and in the basement of the kitchen, very modern kitchen too, by the way. This is really top drawer place. Okay, so in the basement they've got different aquariums for different kinds of fish.
Oh, okay.
Fresh fish.
Yeah.
So this thing is a blue trout. So he's showing me how to prepare the blue trout. So you go downstairs, you scoop out the trout, and you tap his head against the side of the counter. Unpleasant, but it knocks him out. Then you eviscerate him immediately. So you clean the fish while he's still technically alive, and you take it back up to the chef, and you give it to the chef, and then he poaches it in some special water called court bouillon. Okay?
Sure.
So it's some water with lemon and celery and stuff inside it.
Okay.
So you're going to poach it, and poach is not boiling. Okay, it's poached as gentle, hot for this fish. So what happens is, because the fish is sort of still alive, okay, he's just knocked out, he wants to swim away. Get this. So what the fish does is he arcs himself in a certain position, and it turns blue, and it's called forelli blue. Forelli blau is what it's called. And that's German for blue trout. Okay, so when you put it on the plate, it looks like it's swimming away. That's the idea. So the chef is barking out the orders. He says, give me a veal. To the meat guy, he says, to the soup, give me a soup. And to the garde-manger, make a salad. And so to the poissonnier, on forelli blau. So he says to me, Robert, go to the basement to get in Italian. I speak Italian.
Oh.
So I'm working with this guy. He's Italian, right? He says, Vieni sotto, go in the sotto and get the fish, right? Okay. So I go downstairs, and I got to scoop the fish out now. So I'm thinking, I don't like this idea. So I'm going to take this fish that's alive and I'm going to kill it. Right now, this is starting to bug me now. I'm having a little bit of a problem with this.
Right.
So,
some scruples
so
there.
the fish, they've got a net to scoop the fish out. Well, he wasn't coming out too good. So then I go to pick him up with my hand, but it's too slippery. So then I'm going to have a towel on my hand, and then I can get the fish out of the water. So I did. So I'm holding on for dear life. I tapped the fish on the side of the counter, split his belly open, cleaned him up, put him on a silver platter, a little vinegar on top, as I was told to do. I go to the chef with my head down. You don't look at the chef. You don't challenge the chef. With your head down, you give him the plate. Then he takes it away. He doesn't say thank you. You walk away, and you're lucky you were able to speak with him or be close to him.
Wow.
Okay, that's how it works in the kitchen. Okay, that's in the old kitchen. Okay, so then all of a sudden, we're a couple sections away from where the action is. Right, me and this fish guy. Right, so we start hearing the chef moaning away, and he's an Italian guy too. Right, he's moaning away, but he speaks German. Okay, so he's speaking German in this kitchen, like Switzerdeutsch they call it, right? Swiss German, a little different. So he's talking away, and then all of a sudden you can hear him start moaning. He's saying, "Oh, no," and then he gets a little bit louder, and he's just complaining of it. So he asked my boss, the chef of the fish department, to go over and visit with him. So he goes over to see him, and he shows him that the blue trout has these finger marks on the side of it, right, where I bruised the fish.
Oh.
And this guy was like, this is a really snobby place, okay, like, and this was not good. So this is the beauty of not being able to understand what was going on. So he's giving the guy trouble. You're not allowed to do this, and go tell him this, go tell him that, go tell him that. He goes back to me. He says, don't squeeze the fish next time. And the chef was going on for about a half an hour, just whining and whining like a 12-year-old.
Yeah. Don't squeeze the fish next
Don't
time.
squeeze the fish next time. It was so funny.
That's a great story.
It was like that all the time. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was a lot of fun in that place. And the language was good, but I got to be a immigrant. I got to be I was the one that was discriminated against.
Right, you're the minority.
I was the minority, and it was a great thing to go through.
I was going to say that must have taught you some things.
A lot of things. Yeah. I spent so much time traveling, and I learned so much about people that when I hear people talking about, like for instance, like right now, there's an evolution going on in our town. And like, knock it off, people. Okay, like, knock it off.
Right.
They're nice people. Like, make friends with them. They're simple people. You know, like 100%. Make friends with them. I've met many of them, and I go to the
teaching at the college. I
learn their name. Learn how to say Bikram. Like, learn how to say whatever the name is. Learn how to say it.
Don't say, can we just call you Mike?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
No, I'm the same way. No,
that's right. 100%. Yeah, you know, like, you know, they're just simple people. You know, and we need people. So
we do.
Yeah. So be nice.
Yeah. Boy, there's so much we could go on and talk about. You need a podcast.
Yeah. Well, you
should just sit down and talk and tell stories.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Yeah, but then you have to start asking yourself, who wants to listen to my stupid stories?
No, man.
Everybody has stories.
How much do you think I've said here?
Well,
that's a good interview for me.
Don't laugh, because before you came here, I thought, you know what? He's going to be sorry he came, because they're going to end up interviewing him. That's why I'm going to switch this around for you, and you won't even know what happened.
Well, yeah. It's funny you say that. I've had a few people say, like, when can I interview you, David?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable. And only because I'm usually the one asking the questions.
Yeah.
And listening. And it's hard to talk about yourself. You know,
sure. Nobody wants to.
But well, no,
unless they're good stories.
I think people do. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, like you've been telling.
I don't like talking about myself. I like telling stories.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and things that have happened to me. You know,
you remind me of Randy Bachman, and I'm only saying that because
he's a great guy.
My wife and I just saw him. We were down in
largest collection of Guild guitars.
What's that?
Largest collection of Guild guitars.
Yeah, and he got his Les Paul back after 30 years or something like that. Yeah. We just saw him recently, and he's a great storebteller, and the music's good too, by the way, Randy.
He's a great guy.
I've reached out. I'm hoping to get an interview.
Well, he would do it.
Yeah, he probably would.
Yeah,
he probably would. Real quick before we go, I'm going to show some B-roll of this here now. We've got these beautiful guitars over here. What is that?
Well, it's a little bit of I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
I started about, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago. A friend of mine is a wood carver.
Okay.
And I was interested in buying a guitar. And I was telling him how much trouble I was having buying a guitar. And I said, I don't know how much to spend. I would ask the people at the guitar store what counts. Like, what I'm looking for. Like, I was a chef, so I'm a buyer. Like, I'm looking for the criteria. What makes it worth $300? Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So I would see guitars that were in my price range, which was between $300 and $500. But I would start to work it out a little bit with a piece of paper. And I said, okay, so you want $500 for it. So you got it from a distributor. Again. No, you got it from a distributor. Take a couple bucks off of that. Somebody delivered it to you. That came on a ship probably from overseas into Montreal. So it's that on work. And I'm saying, by the time I'm done with it, with all the freight, there's no money left to buy the wood.
Right.
So I'm thinking, how can I buy a guitar? You know, so I'm telling my friend this. He says, well, why don't we build one? He says, he says, we can get the plans and make one. And he had all these wood skills, right? And I thought, well, that sounds like a long process. And it was a long process. But anyways, that led to building probably about 40 guitars we built.
Wow.
Yeah, over that
So
time.
These ones here on the, you built?
3 of them. The 3 in the back are, there's 2 there. They look like they got a hubcap on the front of them, like a plate. That's a resonator.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's actually an exact replica of a 1928 National guitar. They're called a National. National was the company that made those guitars. I can tell you all about it, but another day I will.
Another day.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we made them, and and that's what's left. I have 3 resonators left and 1 acoustic guitar in the back. So
amazing. I wish we had so much more time.
Well, the first one was firewood. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Well, you got to start, right?
Yeah, that's right. Robert, well, you posted that the other day. The first one's going to stink.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's got to suck.
Yeah, look forward
I always
to it.
say
Yeah.
you got to have an episode 1.
Yeah.
And I'm referring to the show.
Yeah.
And I go watch episode 1. It's on the YouTube channel. I
Right.
leave it there for a reason.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now we're like episode 600 and something. And I'm so glad that we were able to
I met you
connect
around
and-
148.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? It's been that long, eh? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This is 600 and something.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
be
good.
12 years in November for the show. And I'm so glad that you're one of my guests on it. And I thank you
Privilege
for
and a
your
pleasure,
stories. And we'll do it again
Absolutely.
down the road.
I'm
and
always available.
serious, start that podcast. As always, thanks everybody for watching. You know what I'm going to say. Click the like, click the love. Why wouldn't you click the love for Robert? But the most important button you can click is the share button. So we can share this around, share Robert's story and all the other guests that I have on my show. But as always, that's all the time I got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I'll see you next time right here on the show. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, folks.
How do you say bye-bye in Italian?
Oh, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.